Hey everyone, Mac is back. Today we're going to talk about a trap castle. We're going to talk about what a trap castle is, how to build a trap castle, and some of the tactics used when you are actually have the trap castle ready to go. So what is a trap castle? Well, a trap castle it's a castle that is not bubbled and appears to be vulnerable to attack, but unbeknownst to the attacker, the defending castle is full of troops and ready to slaughter. That's the basics of a trap castle. The name kind of is self-explanatory, but basically, if you are a trap castle, you are hiding what you actually are. You're being they think you're vulnerable, you're not, and then they attack you with a solo attack, and you absolutely annihilate the army that they send to attack you. So how do you build a trap castle? Well, the very first thing that you need to do, or one of the first things you need to do, is you need to get Varus and Soren to gold level because of the research speed. You're going to need that research speed once you start getting into the Maester's Tower and doing your research, and these two at the very beginning, they're free commanders, and they're the two that you're going to want to put most of your time into upgrading instead of some of the other ones which you'll want to do later. And with that research, you're going to want to use it towards the military tree. So you're going to come into the military tree and you want to do almost completely do it. You're not going to be able to do it all. You're not going to get tier 4 in this case. You can do that, but your overall power will probably be too high, and because you'll be using too high from upgrading them and from also training them for your army. However, you want to get everything in the military as high as possible, so these last three right here will be at level 9. I believe actually you might be able to get, they'll still be at level 9. So you'll get most of these to level 9 and level 10 actually once you finish the Maester's Tower to 25 as well. But these are the ones that you're going to want to be doing, the only ones you're going to want to be doing in here, except, and then after that, once you're finished with the military tree, you want to go to refinement, and you're going to want to finish the refinement tree as well. You want to get in here and get all these upgraded as best as you possibly can. And the reason that you want to do the refinement after you've done all the military research is because you don't get any power upgrade from your refinement. So once you get these buffs in here upgraded, you don't increase your overall power, which is part of being that trap or that sneakiness that you want. At the very beginning, you're going to want to make all mints, and the reason you want to make those mints is because you're going to need that gold dragon production, and you're also going to want that training speed. Those are the two things that are going to be vital for when you're at the very beginning stages of building your trap castle. Don't worry about hospitals at that point. You'll end up switching over to hospitals after you've built up a sizable army, because you're not going to be attacking anyway. So you're just going to be under a bubble 24/7, because you don't want anybody to scout you to know what you're doing, and you don't want anybody to know how many troops you have in your castle or what kind of troops you have in your castle. You need to choose a formation for your defense. So to do that, you have to pick. You'll have to do just the research for your basic one. You'll start with is the infantry cav, and then you might have to do the minimal amount of research it is to get to the other formations. The spear infantry and the cav spear are the other two that are easier to get, and these other ones take a little bit more. Again, you don't want to do too much research because you'll increase your power too much, but just make sure that you do that. And then when you figure out what your front line is going to be, in this case spear, you want to increase the attack, health, and defense of that spear, because they're going to be taking the brunt of that damage. So you want their stats to be as high as possible. And then for the two behind it, in this case for the infantry and for the cav, you just want to do attack, because you're not expecting them to get through that front line. You're expecting these back lines to be able to do their damage as the front line holds them off. When it comes to training your troops, you only want to be training tier 1s, tier 2s, and tier 3s. You want a really good mix of those troop types. All three of them. You want all three or troop levels, I should say. You want all three levels. Get a really good mix of them. Obviously, you're going to get your power will increase more with the tier 3s. So you still want to do a lot of tier 1s and tier 2s to be able to absorb that damage. Just make sure you're doing that. Don't worry about the bows. Like I said, as you've heard many times before, they take forever to get into battle, so they're not worth it. You want all the other three troop types when you're training. Besides Varys and Sorin, you're going to want a few other commanders to upgrade to gold. Obviously, those two are for the research, and you're really not going to be using them for defense on your wall. So one of the commanders that you need to get that is a free-to-play one is Arya, and the reason you want that is because she has that 15% total attack, and she also has that infantry defense if you're using an infantry front line. The other ones you can get, obviously it's going to take you a long time to get Tyrion. It would be nice to have him as well because he has the total attack and total defense, so his actually would be really good as well. However, he would take a very, very long time to upgrade. So some of the other ones that you can think of would be get Chris up there and upgrade him, and Garel is also good, and Robb isn't bad either, the three main tanks when you are early in the game. But just figure out who your front line is going to be, make sure they are well buffed with those commanders, whatever free ones you can get, and get them to gold as fast as you can. And what makes this very effective as a trap castle, it makes you very effective as a trap castle, is the fact that you keep your overall power to as minimal level as possible, but you have really, really good stats. And my recommendation is to stay under 300 million. And the reason I say that, it used to be about, I would say 200 to 250 million was probably probably good to shoot for at the very beginning, but then also just try to stay under the 300 million as much as possible, because the solo attacks are what you want. If you get rallied, it's not going to be good for you, and you'll have to get out of the way anyway. But the 300 million point, why I picked that was because the solo attacks now have gotten so high with the awakening system and with the honor banner, go say glory system, that you can get a single attack of it's I don't know what the most is right now, but I've seen stuff over like 1.5 million, and if you're if you're at 300 million and they're sending, they're a whale at 1.5 sending that, they're going to have really good stats. And to take that solo, you would have to have those tier 1, 2s, and 3s are going to be they're going to be just destroyed very, very quickly. So stay under 300 million. And just a few more things. Always have your bubble on 24/7. I had mentioned that previously. Get as many precise transfers as you can, because you'll be using those, because you'll want to port into certain places that I'll get into later, and you'll want to have to use those. And obviously collect the random transfers as well, because you'll need to get out at some point as well. You'll have to be a little bit quick in some instances, but the precise transfers are what you're going to want. And the final thing I want to say is just know your limits. Know your limits on your castle. It may take you a little while to figure that out. You may have to take some serious losses before you can understand, how much of a solo attack you can take from a player. But you'll figure that out in time. And actually is part of the kind of the fun of making one of these castles. And so I want to go over a couple tactics that you can use as well once you finally get your castle finally set up. So I've put together just a short little list here. The biggest one is to have your anti-scout on. And the reason you want anti-scout on is, actually I mentioned this before, is you don't want them peeking in your castle and knowing how many troops you have. You may have 10 million troops in your castle. You don't want them to know that. And you also don't want them to know what commanders you have on your wall until they actually fall for the bait and attack you. So just make sure that is one of the biggest things that you need to have on. The one thing you want to do is appear that you're AFK, or if you want to be a little more aggressive, you could port somewhere into like the central portion of the map and then start scouting, like in KVK, start scouting different castles. That'll draw a lot of attention, and then that's when you'll have some of those kind of aggressive castles come in, and they may try to scout you because they'll see that you're only about 250, 300 million or something like that. They may just pass you by. The smart ones will, but if they don't, if they're actually too aggressive, then that's when they'll strike, and they'll realize what they just ran into. So make sure you do that as too. Something you can also do is you can use your main account to reinforce the trap castle. The suggestion here, or the recommendation here, is don't port too close to that main castle, or to that trap castle, because your main's going to have to unbubble to do that. So make sure that you are decently far away, and then make sure you speed up to get into that castle as fast as you can, because you don't want anybody else seeing that and knowing that there's more troops in there. So that's where you can put in some of from your main, you can put in some of your tier 4s and be able to really do some damage to someone who's not suspecting it. Make sure you have your gathering gear on initially, because they're going to click on your castle. They're going to see if it looks like you're AFK, and that is also something that you can do. Is if you put the gear on, you could send out gatherers if you wanted to appear that you're just gathering and forgot to put on your bubble. Maybe you thought you had it on or something like that. And then maybe I didn't mention this, but you're going to be unbubbled during this entire time, and to do that, scouting is the best way. But make sure when you do scout that you maybe port away somewhere, wait till your fervor is off, because if you don't do that, then you'll be vulnerable no matter what. So if you can't bubble up if they try to rally you, or if there's a really massive whale that has a really high solo attack that's coming at you. The next thing to do, like I said, is change your gear to attack once they start to attack you. So once you see that the attack is on, change immediately to your army gear and prepare for that, to take that hit. Exactly what you want to do. And if after that first hit, they're probably going to tell their friends, their alliance mates, hey, this guy's a trap castle, here's his formation, and then they're either going to they're probably not going to solo attack you as long as you heal all your troops, which you need to do that absolutely immediately. It's probably another tip to put on your tactic as well. Just kind of common sense. You want to have as many troops again, so just heal all that were wounded, and then you have your then they're probably going to rally you, and if they do rally you, just immediately bubble up, give them their lord back, and call it a day. Something else I didn't put in here as well is you also want to consider the name of your castle. Don't put it's a trap, or don't put trap castle. Just something. Don't put something unsuspecting. Put something maybe it's a little more intimidating for your name of your castle, so that way that people think that you actually are a normal type of castle as well. When it comes to castle skins, you can have it on an attack skin if you want to. Again, you'll be a little less susceptible to to attacks. You'll get more buffs when it comes to that. But if you go to a gathering one, you could be, if you're quick enough and they start to attack you, you can immediately change over to that other attack from the gathering one to an attack one, and it would help you out as well. So I hope these tips helped you, and I hope that if you're going for this type of castle that this worked out for you. I'm just going to scroll up on my screen here and show you just a few more things that I've written down here of how to build your castle. So you can kind of look at this and pause it here if you want to kind of see what these are all the tips that I went over about building your castle, and then I'll go up even further to where we talked about what a castle is as well. But I think these ones here are what you're going to want to know more than anything. So I hope this helped you, and until next time, Mac out.